Good evening. My name is Monelwa Chane, and tonight I am sitting across Tembi Matlope. That is a teenage mother and a coach of mine that I've been journeying with for a few months now. And we tonight are going to be talking about parenting teenagers and how coaching and the course Parent Effectiveness Training has been supporting her and her family and her boys. So just to give you a little bit of background in terms of what I do in Foundations and Bonds. So Foundations and Bonds is a skills development entity that empowers parents and teenage parents to raise their awareness and gain the skills that they need to better meet their teenagers' need for connection and belonging. Their need for mental and emotional security, as well as support them in their journey of building their self-esteem. This is the most important time for our children, the teenage stage, where they really need our support in being the foundation and the bond that they need to build their self-esteem and grow into themselves, the effective people that they can be. And in the process, also supporting parents to relieve themselves of those pressures and overwhelms and anxieties that come with this age of teenage age, and you know, the children trying to find their own voice, their own standing, and how then do they find the balance and enjoy the stage with their children rather than having, you know, the constant tension, if I may say, that we usually experience in teenage. So let's get into it. Tembi, I met you last year in October, November, towards the end of the year. You and your husband, and you're like, Monelwa, we need your support. We need you to help us. So I'd like you to please just introduce yourself and share with us, you know, that day when we met, what was going on for you and your family.
Okay. I'm Tembi Matlope. I'm a mother of 2 teenage boys. So I met Monelwa through a referral, and I was just checking. I was actually on the search for a teenage coach. I felt there's a need for that because I was getting worried on the withdrawal of the kids. You know, they stop talking, they spend more time alone in their rooms. And obviously, I respect their privacy, me and my husband respect their privacy, but it just worried us that, you know, we're not spending time together, so we can't engage as often as we used to. And there's conflicts around petty things, you know, like washing dishes. Instead of someone saying, I'll do it later, they would rather say, I'm tired. You've got a dishwasher. So there was a lot of resistance as well. So I needed to learn tools to, you know, to bring them back, because I did feel there was a huge gap between us and the boys.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want you to share when we first met, you know, your expectations, or what you were looking for and what you actually got. What was that for you?
Okay. My expectation, I think perhaps with many parents, I'm not sure. And it's informed by, as I was doing the research, looking for a teen coach, right? So my expectation was you would get in and talk to the boys. Because in my mind, I am the parent, I am right, right? So my expectation was that you'll come and kill the fires for me. You'll coach the boys to behave. And what I got was a journey that brought me back to myself. So there was a lot of reflection and introspection. So yeah, when we met, I was like, this is the lady that will put these people back on track. I'm just going to fold my arms and stand back and watch as she does the Lord's work, you know, fix my kids for me. My experience was different, totally different. And I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. And I will tell you, Monelwa, a lot of people who do almost similar type of work or interventions, they speak to the teenagers and the parents are left behind. So it was, for me, it was a first, and I was reluctant. I was like, why doesn't she start by talking to the kids first? Because I went to her with the problem with the kids, not myself. So yeah, I'm happy. I am grateful for the journey, even though it took me to a part where I wasn't expecting to, you know, go to.
Thank you for sharing that. And you're not the first parent, you know. There's always that shock of no, but I thought the agenda was the child here. But
Yes.
Why are you asking me these questions? You know, and like I started with the introduction, the parents, it's very, very important. Parents make a very important part of me joining with the children, because you are the foundation and you are the bond as they are building their house, you know, as people, and they're growing into themselves. You are the one bond that is consistent and reliable enough to keep them together. You give them the foundation that they need to stand firm against whatever it is, you know, that they come across, the resilience that they need, the security that they need, you know, and not just the physical security, but the mental and the emotional security, which is the biggest type of security that they need at this age. So I never leave the parent behind, because I always say, then I'm just setting up the child for failure again, because when I let go of their hand, you need to take on their hand again and walk with them the rest of the journey, you know. So yes, the parent is very much a very important holder. Tell me what, you know, what were the tools when you got in and you started doing the work? What were some of the principles or learnings that you thought, oh my word, because there are those moments on the journey where parents are like, oh my goodness, how did I not know this? Oh my goodness, why don't we know this? So can you please share with us what those principles were or those insights were?
Okay, I think the first and the biggest one is active listening. So it was it was something that I really did not expect would be something that I have to sit down and learn about. Because I thought I'm a good listener. Actually, when we had our first session, I was like, I'm a good listener. And only to find through the journey, active listening is what makes you a good listener. And I wasn't doing any active listening until I met you and went through the material or the coursework. So yeah, active listening, very hard to do because you want to talk back, and it just forces you to be mindful and just take it in, listen, you know, hold space for your child. Because I think the one thing that we often do, what I used to do as a parent, is to be judgmental and to give answers and to defend, you know. Sometimes the child is giving you feedback and you already defending. So I've learned to take feedback in a active listening manner. So yeah, active listening was a big deal for me.
And Tembi, what would you say to parents that say, I don't want to be negotiating with a child? Nah, I don't, you know, that just sounds like I'm giving children the platform to challenge me back, and I don't do that. They're the children, they're the child, and I'm the adult, and they must stay the child. What can you say to the parents?
Good luck to them, because they won't win them over. If you can't influence the child, if you want to dictate, you've lost them, because they are not feeling safe to talk to you or express their views. Whatever you say comes in the one ear, comes out the other. So negotiation is also the child feeling important, heard, and taken seriously. And once they feel like that, it's easy for you to ask them to do stuff, you know. Now, when I ask my kids, whose turn is it to do the dishes? They just answer. I don't have to be the police and say, but yesterday it was so and so, so it means today it's your turn. Please wash. I don't want to go to bed with a sink full of dirty dishes. So it definitely works to win them over, because they feel like my voice matters. And then yours will matter in their lives too, because you've made them to feel like their voices, their little voices, matter to you. So yeah, you're not really losing your power when you negotiate with them, but you're just bringing them closer. And like I say, my biggest, one of my biggest problem with that when I came to you was the loss of connection. And with the tools that you've shared with us that we implement and try, obviously we're still learning, we're journeying, but we are trying, and it's working. It's working because these little people are different now compared to how they were late last year.
What would you say is the biggest breakthrough that you can, really share and make it practical with those that are joining us online? When you say that they're little beings that are different from what you experienced last year, what you say, the biggest breakthrough that I'm celebrating right now with my family?
It's the connection. It's the connection, being able to be playful around each other most of the time, because what really rubbed me off the wrong way is the lengthy periods of time spent apart. We are in the same house, but each one is doing their own thing in their little rooms. So my biggest my biggest celebration is the established connection or reconnection, because it used to be there and then we just drifted apart. So that's the one thing. And the little conflict to no conflict, there's minimal incidences, there's less number of incidences of conflict. If I look back to last year, you'd have one conflict after the other in the same day. And I used to call myself out sometimes. I would feel guilty. If it starts in the morning, I'm like, yo, so early in the morning, I know it's going to get up to 10 fights today. And from that to 1 or 0, actually, I think we're sitting on 0, because the rest of the stuff is we talk to each other. It's no longer, I'm fed up, I'm tired of this, I want you to do this. It's, yeah, such incidences are a thing of the past.
Thank you, Tammy. I just want to, my household now, they're bathing, it's bath time. I just want to let them know again, make them aware that I'm recording. Okay? Just a minute. Okay. Hey, these little people. So yes, but the main objective of parent effectiveness training, the course, is to support families to stay longer in what we call the no problem area. So you learn skills to be able to effectively confront without attacking the person, because the usual way of us confronting, and it's what we are on that subject now with the teens, and their eyes just popped. They sat like this actually the whole time on the table, and they said, I've never seen that side of things, that when I talk like that to a person and demand and command them, I'm actually triggering them. I'm making them feel small about themselves. So the most important part is, how do you confront in a way that does not make the other person feel I need to defend my self-esteem and I need to defend my face. You know what I mean? I'm losing face here and I need to defend myself. And also, when a child is going through their own triggers or going through their own moments, how us as parents can then stand in that gap for them without making them feel like, you know what, not now, mom. I just, further shut us out or even distance us. So yes, I'm glad that we met the objective for the family to stay more in the no problem area, for the children to spend more time going through challenges and their parents feeling, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this anymore. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier on is that you got into this journey and it also took you on a journey of self for you as the individual.
Yeah.
Can you just share with us a little bit about that? Yeah.
Where do I start? Okay. So so the journey about self was how I view my kids. Started with how I am feeling inside and my experiences. So I really had to look at other incidences that I felt, okay, the kids were messing me up or they were disobedient. Meanwhile, it was me being judgmental. And when I look at the behavior, when you probed, when I look at the behavior, I could not justify what was wrong with it. And yeah, then it pointed at me, at how I see things, how I process things, but it was more about me personally. And once we went through that, I think it just opened my eyes more to be more mindful in terms of the behavior itself. Sometimes there's nothing wrong that they do, but how I process my own feelings does reflect on how I process things that happen in front of me done by them. So yeah, I think that's what I meant. That's what I experienced. It was a difficult journey because I had to now look at myself in the mirror and accept my own flaws as well as a parent, as a person. And that helped me to understand that I also make mistakes. And the difficulty that I was having with the boys, some of the issues were self-inflicted. So I was part of the problem as well. So that's the journey that I'm talking about.
So Thembi, would you say in a nutshell, this was a worthy investment for you and your family? And what would you say to others about considering going on to this journey and this investment?
Definitely, I would recommend it. For me, it was It was a great experience. I learned a lot, and most of the things, it's things that we take for granted. So I learned a lot, but I think it's something that should also be should not be a luxury or an option. I think if it's something that we can do in South Africa, is to give each parent this type of skill, so that they manage their kids better and themselves, not actually manage, but maybe solidify their relationships with their kids better. Because I was doing in my parenting, I was parenting my kids the same way that I was parented, and I did not like it, but believe me, I was doing what I know. So this course took me on a journey where I reflected, and I had to be vulnerable, accept that I'm wrong, I don't know everything. And in as much as my kids are younger, I must listen to them, which is something that I did not grow up having or learning. So I was shying away from learning from them, and not learning, basic stuff, but about their own feelings, how they prefer to do things. Because I would say, no, you're not dressed properly because we're going somewhere, you have to dress in this manner. Now I'm like, you know what? Let them go, as long as they feel comfortable, confident in their chosen outfits that they choose for themselves. Because I'm like now big on self-actualization. If they get to that part where they like feel comfortable in the skin, and they're not feeling anxious or feel like they'll be judged. The fear of being judged is, I think, is what bothers most of the kids. That's why, of peer pressure and all those things. So this is a worthy investment for both parents and our teenagers. With everything that's going on now, the exposure to drugs, social media, and all that, I think our kids are growing up in a more difficult world than we did. I was born before these social media things. So yeah, I would strongly recommend it. Actually, if Department of Education can give this to parents that enroll their kids at school, perhaps the violence that we see in schools will be minimal. Because I think the kids are, yeah, they need something. They're not just horrible people, but I think there's something going on that needs to be looked at.
Exactly. They want to do good, and they want to be good. I mean, in the teenage classes, I don't know why. There was an example where we're giving an example, and they need to do a confrontation to a mom, and the example says, "Mom always tells people about what I do," and they were like, "Yo, moms do that, and we don't like it because sometimes we know what I'm doing embarrasses me. I don't want to tell people." So there's times where they're like, "Ma'am, did my mom talk to you?" I said, "No," and I have to show them the book and say, "And this book was compiled in the USA." And they say, "No, we know sometimes I react and I don't like it as well." So they don't like it. And what I've noticed and is that they want to be good. They want to do good. They just don't have the skills and the tools, right? And because they don't have the skills and the tools, they find themselves frustrated. If their parents don't have the skills and the tools, then there is no help for them at all. They will also go to places where it's much easier for them to go to. It's to act out, or it's to pull back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if as parents, we have the skills and the tools, we can help them to have the skills and the tools. And I love what you said, that for you right now, it's about their self-esteem and their self-actualization, because that's where I am. When I got into this work as well, it was more about me, helping me, the parent, to be able to get the child to do what I want the child to do, to solution for me. But I'm at a point more, it's more about the kids. It's about their personal effectiveness, their self-esteem, you know, having the skills and the tools that they need to be able to mushroom into who they are, to be confident, to have the inside out journey that anchors them as people, not the outside in, which has been frustrating them. So they've been going out to look for solutions outside, whereas when I journey with them and we journey with the parents, we realize all that they've been looking for is inside.
Is within.
Yes. So how do we get them to get the inside, and then they can influence their outside? And can I share with you, they get so excited when I tell them this tool or this principle that we're doing, the parents also know it. They're like, really, ma'am? They know it. Say yes. But then because it gives them confidence and, you know, and optimism to say, okay, I'm not alone in this journey. They will at least understand me where I'm coming from when I come with this way of talking or this way of doing things, you know. And at the same time, because they know they're going on the same journey as the parents, they're able to source their own compassion. They say, okay, this is not easy, because I've lived all of my life not seeing things this way. Obviously, my parents also are going through a journey of learning and unlearning. So let's do this together with compassion, which I love. I love that, you know, in that compassion. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing this moment with me. And to parents that are going through the teenage stage, there is help. Peace and less stress and less overwhelm can be a reality for you in your teenager. And most of all, like Tembi shared, connection, regaining that connection and regaining that, you know, that opportunity to be the influence that you need to be in your child's life, because they need us. If there's one thing that they share with me when I say to them, if you were living in a perfect world and you could just share with your parents without fear of being lectured or anything, what would you share? They all say, I wish I could tell them, I'm actually confused. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh.
All of them. I don't know what I am doing.
Sure.
So let's do it. Let's go on this journey, not for us, but for their self-esteem and their self-actualization. You can contact me on 078-739-2392 for a free consult, and we see how I can journey with you in your teenager into greater connection and a greater relationship that supports their self-esteem. Thank you and good night. No, don't go yet.